Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's reminisce about an extraordinary team. We met them all at the start of the day, and we've plucked out 4 of the stars of the 1979 Premiership team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage. He was on the wing and he was dynamic, Peter Francis. Leading goal kicker for the Blues that year, a young dynamo part of the Mosquito fleet, Kenny Sheldon. And alongside him, one of the great characters of footy, in fact characters of Australia. What a player he was. He was only a 20-year-old when he was dominating the 79 grand final, Jimmy Buckley. And no show without punch. Fantastic to have the best and fairest winner of 79. What an extraordinary player he was. He went on to captain the club to a couple of premierships, the one and only Mike Fitzpatrick. We really should put Mike Fitzpatrick right in the middle of these. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Mike, wonderful to see you. Tell us about the bond between a premiership team. And we've seen it very tangible when we saw all the players stand up and the reaction they have to each other. Tell us about that bond.
Is this working? Yeah. We're very close. We're very close. I think it probably came from the sort of mix-up that sort of 78 was and the appointment of Jezza as coach. And Jezza coming in and laying out some very strict rules, which we had trouble following early, but gradually got on top of it. And that meant we spent a hell of a lot of time on the track. We spent a hell of a lot of time doing push-up penalties, that sort of thing. So there was a bond between us as far as just sheer effort was involved. And then we were reasonably social off the track. And that made for a really tight, close group of guys. And we were very lucky to have a lot of partner support as well. And the whole thing was just, 79 was just almost a freak year where you had that combination of older players who had 1 or 2 years left and really had played in a flag and wanted one more, and a lot of young guys who just didn't know any better and just went for it.
You talk about young guys, you talk about social and didn't know any better. It's the perfect introduction to Jimmy Buckley. What was it like?
Geez, I've got a terrible reputation, haven't I?
What was it like, a young 20-year-old, Mike, when this 20-year-old Jimmy Buckley arrived at the club? Take us through what it was like with him roving to you.
My memory was you were about 16 when you first turned up.
Yeah, 16. Yeah.
And I remember...
You wouldn't tap it to me either.
No, you were too young. I used to put it to Ashy, and more experienced player who I thought would use the ball.
What are your memories of 79, Jim, as a young man?
Look, I come down from Kyneton and it was roughly at 16 years of age, and and run into a great bunch of grapes, the older guys, and that, already, as Fitzy said, it had success, and the younger guys who wanted success, and they sort of got the right blend of it, and in awe of that, and luckily I got a game in the 79 grand final, and one thing about Carlton is that when we get there, we don't want to lose, because you don't get any Mondays. You can't make an excuse and say, Sunday, well, I could have done that and done that. You've got to go out and do everything you can and make sure that there's no stone unturned, or a bloke that you've got to bash in the head. You've got to do it. It's got to be done. In those days, you get away with it. Parker used to tell you to do it anyway. But
what was the message from Jezza at the start of the game? Can you remember? You got vivid memories?
The message from Jezza was on the Thursday night. We had a big meeting and that, and it was just go out and enjoy yourself and make sure that Jezza was pretty. He didn't elaborate on tactics and all stuff like that. He left it yourself, and as you well know, we were too shit scared to lose throughout the season, because if we lost, we'd only lost 3 games. I'm not kidding. We never got up to about 9 or 9:30 at night, and it was a horrible feeling losing, I'm telling you. But we just wanted to win, and you know, like as I said, and that's the culture of Carlton, and it's gradually coming back now, and we had that there, and it's gradually creeping back now, and it's great to see the blokes doing what's going on now and under Teague, and that's fantastic.
Kenny, great to see you, part of very popular member of the Carlton fraternity. Part of the mosquito fleet. Talk about, the media started to really hone in on the mosquito fleet. You two, we talk about Alex Marcoux, Barry Armstrong, Trevor Keogh, Wayne Johnson. The list goes on.
Yeah, Vinny the Cat.
Vinny the Cat Catoggio, correct?
Yeah, James Robert here. James Robert.
Barry Armstrong.
Barry Armstrong, number 12. Like, the good thing about Barry was he'd have 6 kicks trying to kick 60 metres. That was good. Trevor, you know, like Trevor was dual best and fairest, tough as nails, from Sandhurst, at same club as Jeff Southby. They're great players. Rod Ashman, number 14, like sensational. And Alex could run almost inside time. He could if Stan Magro was chasing him.
Ken, when we say the name Ken Sheldon, you are remembered for one very, very significant moment. And I might just play it first, and then I would love to get your commentary of it. Check this out. What do you remember about that, Ken? You had a good view.
I do remember it was we needed to kick a goal. We were in a bit of trouble. Harmsy stuffed the kick up. If he had kicked it properly, would have beaten Collingwood by 5 goals, not 5 points. And Jimmy was the one that got it up off the deck. My little mate here, one of the greatest, I reckon, greatest player pound for pound Carlton's ever had.
Not a bad judge, Kenny.
Always been and it was just belief, and just grab this, you young blokes that are playing today. It's just trust and belief in your teammates. Like, there was just that innate knowledge that you knew that it could happen if you were there to support him. So just remember that one, fellas. Learn to trust your teammates. And I think that was, back to your point, Mike, one of the key ingredients that we had as a group.
Believe it or not, I just bumped into a Collingwood supporter who's in the room here. I won't name him. But just to make him feel a little worse, was it in or out, Ken?
Well, if you're a Collingwood supporter, I'd ask, first thing I'd establish that, and 90% of them are, and then they smile, and then you confirm. and then you say, well, you were a bit stiff, I could wipe the sauce off the ball. And they go crook and they carry on. But anyway, it was a match, but it put us 11 points up. Like, you know, it wasn't a winning goal, it was just part of the process. And, you know, as I said, if Harms had kicked it... Plus the other thing is, Jimmy and I, we signed little waivers, and Harmsy's got about 18 cars out of it. And
we made a fundamental mistake. We signed off on it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Right?
I did all the hard work.
Doing
Harmsy
the
stuffed
right
the
thing.
kick up, and Bomber got an easy goal.
And Harmsy's a legend out of it.
So you blokes, again, you current day players, just watch your commercial dealings.
Peter Francis, we didn't get to see you enough in a Carlton jumper, but when we did, there was a lot to love, including that very spectacular goal. What are your memories of 79?
Look, it was absolutely magnificent time. No doubt it was my first senior year. I'd been at the club a couple of years playing in the reserves and had played a night game and in 78, and a little bit worried that I wouldn't make the list in 79, but I'm actually indebted to the Carlton Football Club and especially Alex Chizelenko for actually giving me my chance, and it was just an absolute, yeah.
And you're in
just a dream come true for a farm boy from Heathcote, and yeah, I loved every moment of it.
And you're in a pivotal spot because Collingwood were dominant in the wings. We know that their midfield that year was certainly dominant. You had a big job.
Yeah, I did. Alex, absolutely magnificent coach for a young player. Every week I knew my role and what I had to do to stay in the side. And he would come to me and say, "This, it was an era where you had a lot of very, very good wingmen. Actually, they were absolute superstars. Keith Gregg, Wayne Schimmelbusch, Robert Flower, Michael Turner, and the list went on. And every week I'd seem to get one of those. But each week he would tell me on the Thursday night, this is, you're playing on Wayne Schimmelbusch this week. I don't care if he only gets 7 kicks and you only get 6 as long as you keep him down. So I knew my role each week, and Alex explained to me that, if you play your role, you'll stay in the side. So I knew that was my role. And on that day, I learned on the Thursday night that I'd be playing on Graham Anderson, and he kicked 5 goals against Fitzroy in a final a couple of weeks before. The week after against North Melbourne, he kicked 3 goals. So he was a dangerous player. And Alex said, just keep him, make sure you're goal side of him all the time. Keep him away. I don't want him to have a shot at goal. He did get one in a shot in the last quarter, unfortunately. Thank God he missed it.
Yeah, we called him Roy after the game. Remember Roy Orbison, the big O?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that was my role on the day. And Alex explained to me that, look, he won't pick you up, but if you can get off him when you can, do that. And, I was lucky enough to get a couple of kicks on the day and play my role, which was really important.
And you played with 4 clubs, but being that bond of being part of a Premiership team, Mike just touched on it before, how close the group was?
Yeah, really. It probably defined my life, that game. I played 160 games with 4 clubs and 47 with Carlton, but that day, and it's probably for the current day players that, how important it is to play in premierships or grand finals and especially play in premierships. And I know that I played a lot better games in that other 159, but everyone remembers me and don't remember that I played with Fitzroy, Richardson and Essendon, but they remember me for that day that I was lucky enough that I was a Carlton player and that I played well in a premiership. And it does define your career. I've been fortunate enough to obviously work for the AFL for the last 25, 30 years and still doing that and, running Gippsland Power and loving every moment. But I put it back to that day in September, I think it was 28, 1979, and, it was a defining moment for me.
It's unbelievable for us mere mortals in the room that haven't been able to do it like you 4 and the entire team. It's just awesome listening to you. Take us back, Mike. Carlton was the dominant team in 79. There's no doubting that. However, the really wet conditions, Collingwood were coming in form. Did you think that gave Collingwood a slight advantage coming into the grand final?
Oh, it definitely did. I mean, they were very suited to playing at Victoria Park, which was pretty muddy anyway as a ground regularly, and they were much better suited to a sort of wet or at least slippery day than we were. We were a terrific fair weather side. If it was fine, we would have beaten them by a lot, I think. But the fact it was wet and we just couldn't get started. I mean, we got to the 20-minute mark of the second quarter, we were 28 points down. That's right. We hadn't kicked a goal. And then Harmsy went into the middle and changed the whole game, which made a big difference. So we went in a point up, and from then on, it was on. And a really huge second half by both sides, and we were lucky enough to get over the line.
Peter Moore was the reigning Brownlow medalist. He got that on the Monday night. So a big job for you and Perth.
It was a big job, and he was playing great footy. And Perth and I both had a big job in front of us, and I thought Perth just had a terrific day, actually. A good day out. Probably not quite his 72 standard when he gave Carrot Top McKellar a toweling up. But he's, in the wet, just his sheer size, Morey had a lot of trouble with him.
And that mosquito fleet, Jim and Kenny, in those wet conditions, the ball was going to be on the ground, but you guys were so quick, so it was sort of, that nullified it a little bit. Is that fair to say?
Well, I come from Kyneton. It gets pretty wet up there, I know that. I was pretty used to the wet and the cold and the sleet and the snow, a bit like today. But, yeah, look, we were fit and we're hard and we were quick. And we had that, the conditions didn't worry us really. But getting back to Perth, he did a good job. But he did a better job getting there. I think you've heard this story before, but...
Please tell us.
Alex, we had if it goes back, we had the meeting on the Thursday night, Bombard, I think, and Alex said to Percy, he said he's had a bit of an ankle. He said, if it rains, Percy, he said, you're out of the side. And Percy dropped the head and he looked at you can't do the phone now and look at the radio, what's going to happen on the phone, tell you the truth, that where the rain's coming and that, but Percy would have done it if he had one. And he went home and, you wouldn't believe it, pissed rain all night Friday night. So he said, because we're going to go in top heavy, so Perth is going to get the arse. Anyway, Alex went round and tried to ring him, didn't get him. Perth wouldn't answer the phone. Went round, knocked on the door, no, the blinds were drawn. I reckon he must have moved out for the night, he'd gone somewhere else. Tried to get over the back and Argus nearly bit him. That was his dog. Next thing, comes back to the bus, and I'll never forget this when we're walking up the bus and Perth is there like the gill of the gorilla with his bag, and Alex was greeting us as we come onto the bus. And I'll never forget the eyes of Alex Sheldon looked at Perth. He said, I was right behind him, I heard it. I said, if we lose today, Perth, I'm going to kill you. And lucky Perth was in there and he played in 4 premierships and he kicked that beautiful goal as you've seen on there. If the bloke had to put his hands up, he would have caught the ball. But that was the time, that's what got us across the line, Perth, that beautiful goal you kicked.
Kenny, some of these stories just grow year after year. It's hard to believe it's 40 years ago.
Yeah, it is hard to believe it's 40 years. I've got all my family here today, and that's fantastic. And seeing so many people around through the room, like there's 940, nearly 1,000 people. You're seeing people that you thought were dead. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience. It is incredible.
Who did you think was dead?
They responded well. It's a very positive environment. Very positive, Jace, and gladly so's the club in that environment too. Like, it all goes hand in hand, and at the moment we're heading north. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well said. It's interesting you're touching on Perth. You were part of the young crew coming through, and Mike described it. Guys that were, Swan Mackay's a perfect example, Jezza, Perth, Jeff Southby, some of that vintage, and then you young colts coming through. It's important to have that blend.
Yeah, well, there were 3 players in the Collingwood side that were in their middle 20s that had been at, Ray was a bit older, Ray Byrne, but there was Russell Olsen and also Craig Davis. They're in the Collingwood team, former Carlton players. And we had Rod Ashman that wasn't able to play in that game. So really it was Mark McClure that was only the middle bracket, and Michael. Michael was in great form, as was Sellers. And we had the older guys. Like, it was Perth's 249th game, and Jezza, I think, I'm not sure, Alex, if you're older or younger, but you're moving like you're older, but that's okay. And we had that, and then we had blokes like Peter and Youngie on the wings. They were 20, and then the 3, like Alex was 20, Macca, Peter McConville was 20. All these kids. Jimmy, the Dominator, he'd come in from
Paran.
Yeah, from Paran. He probably had a false ID, but he got through and really added a lot. So, and then there were a few 19-year-olds as well. It was a really mix, but in the middle there wasn't a lot. So it had terrific leadership and just effort. Just effort and effort and effort. And inside, outside, didn't matter. Wet, dried, it just didn't matter. You just had to butter up and do your job. As Peter said about Alex, he was brilliant in articulating what you needed to be doing.
When you're that young, though, do you appreciate what you've just achieved?
No, you learn so much in those games. Like, I remember trying to tackle Ray Byrne and going on the inside of him into the forward pocket, so he just flicks it out on the flank and they go straight down the other end and have a scoring shot. Well, you learn about those things. I remember Ross Brewer sitting in the hole as the game's getting on and on and on, and our blokes are just bombing it, and I'm saying, what the fuck, I'm over here. But they were tired and they were knackered, and that's where they were going, so you learn that real quick. And, if you can't adapt like that, if you can't learn like that, then you don't play them.
Peter, I'm going to ask you as opposed to asking Jim, who has actually had a change in lifestyle. We might get on that shortly, but your vivid memories of post-79. You win the Premiership. Take us through what happens that night and after it. How did the team get together?
Yeah, we went to the Hilton Hotel and had a dinner and a dance.
A dance?
A dance. Seemed to be a dinner dance, didn't it?
You'd met Robin by then, but geez, you were pretty serious that night.
Yeah. Oh, I think I was the only bloke in the club that doesn't drink or smoke at that stage.
Right.
You know what you're missing out on.
Yeah, but...
He would have been great for you, David.
You should have kept me, David.
So... a celebration that night?
Yeah, it was at the Hilton Hotel afterwards, and And then we went back on a bus after that. Yeah, look, I can't really remember a lot, but we went back to the Carlton Social Club and there was a stage there and all the supporters. It was just a little bit surreal, really. It was just an absolutely magnificent night, and it went on for weeks, I think, for some of these blokes, for sure. But, yeah, just a magnificent night and yeah, something that you dream about, obviously.
Why is it, Jim, every time they talk about celebration, they look at you?
I've got no idea. McClure was the one who started it, not me.
And Mike, how important was that? You mentioned it. You actually brought the topic up. How important was the social element? I know David Parkin, the great coach, and a couple of years later had a battle to try to get you guys on the straight and narrow. But how important was the social element?
Oh, very strong. Very, very important.
It was, wasn't it? It was a battle he lost, basically. But
Won the war.
it was just, I mean, I didn't approve of it, but, you know, I sort of came into it and you sort of adjust, you know. So we just had, it was a club that had a tradition of winning, and it was a club that had a tradition that losing was totally unacceptable. And most of the time we were together, we won. And as a group, you know, the celebrations afterwards were material, weren't they?
We'd go out on a Saturday night. All the players and wives and girlfriends and everything would go to Poynton's Hotel in Carlton for tea, and then we'd sort of separate from there. But it was a really close group from that point of view. Later in the night, we'd end up back at John Nichols, who's over here, Nick's nightclub, back there. Later in the night, we'd all rejoin up again, and then it'd flow over into Sunday morning training at 9 o'clock, where it was usually soccer and things like that, and then back up into Nick's nightclub for ham rolls and more beers.
Sounds magnificent.
What's World of Sport?
There's a few current day players are very envious of the lifestyle that you guys had back. They're saying, why was I born in this era? Talking about the current game, I'll ask you, Ken, because obviously Mike and Pete, obviously with a close association with the AFL, and Jim with his son playing elsewhere. Do you like what you see at the moment in AFL footy? You come along to a lot of games and like what you see with the Blues?
I do like it. I do come along to a lot of games, and I love what I'm seeing with the Blues.
And you love what they're doing at the Spirit of Carlton too, and actually bringing you guys that connection between those that have been before with the current team?
Yeah, I think it's super important, like just little bit by little bit. But to win a flag, like you've got so many clubs doing all those little bit by little bit, so you just got to do that extra little bit. And it's part of the machinations of breeding a successful dynasty. You know, not get there once, but get there and keep going. Like there's people in this room. You mentioned Big John before, and you know, I've seen Johnny Manuzzo, and there's people that have been here for many, many years that have been 68, 70, 72, then 79, then it went 81, 82, 87. You know, like pretty spoiled. So in that, there's a pretty good recipe somewhere, and we were always mixing and matching with all the older guys and the different guys and learning about our craft. So I think it's pretty important.
You were an incredible team, and Mike, 40 years on, it's a wonderful celebration. This is one part of it. Do you get together as a group at all in other parts throughout the year to celebrate 40 years?
We'll have another celebration after this, yes.
Doesn't appear like any of us are invited.
At another place, which will not be disclosed, at another time.
But most importantly, just as a tight group?
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah. And we've done that for 82 and 81 as well. So I think it's important that those premiership sides basically get together and celebrate the event. The last one we had, we actually invited the umpires. We may not do that this time. But
the best part of that one is Fitzy fits the bill.
Well, there you go. Well, he didn't realise that, but he certainly does now. Hopefully, Trevor Keogh will be back. Hopefully, Swan Mackay, who's recovering from illness, hopefully he'll be with us, and Harmsy as well. And Pete, as a wingman, we remember Michael Young, who was taken far too soon.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
He was your other wingman, a quality player.
He was a real quality player, and he had Ricky Barham on the day, who was another quality wingman in that period of time, and he did an absolutely mighty job. He played really well in the the lead-up game, I think it's the qualifying final that we beat North Melbourne in. He had Stan Alves that day and absolutely tore him apart. So he had a absolutely brilliant final series, and he's a great player, and he's very sadly missed by us.
Kicked a clutch goal too that day. The two wingmen got great goals. Hector's was probably goal of the year had they replayed it.
I actually got the World of Sport goal of the day that day. So I got the Hutton's ham for goal of the day on World of Sport.
I hope you still haven't got it.
Had fat all the way through it. It wasn't that great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we could do this for hours and hours, but I think we're so privileged, Carlton supporters, to have witnessed the 79 Premiership team. Peter Francis, Kenny Sheldon, Jim Buckley and Mike Fitzpatrick. Give them a round of applause. And we will get the whole team up at the end of the lunch today for an opportunity for you to take a photo of this incredible team who were so superb in 70.